to everyone. I'm continuing my presentation, of course, in English. I'm very glad to be here and to have this possibility to present our work to your audience here. The title of our presentation is Capability for Revenge and Forgiveness in Adolescents Who Have Survived Genocide in Srebrenica During Early Childhood. I decided to start these presentations with these two quotes from the holy books, from the Quran and Bible. And they are talking about the capability for the revenge and forgiveness. There is written in Quran, the recompense for an injury is an injury equal threat in degree. But if a person forgives and makes reconciliation, his reward is due from Allah. For Allah loved not those who do wrong. And also in Bible it's said about it, and when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive him, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you your sins. We improved ourselves in the technology, in the science, in the way how we travel. We have all those electronic devices, but as you can see, for the centuries we are dealing with our emotions on the same way, and those holy books try to help us to deal with our frustrations. What are the roots of the revenge and forgiveness? Being offended or harmed hurts. Victims of wrongdoing may feel emotional pain, anger, and desire for revenge toward their offenders, and may also engage in retaliatory behavior. The ability to respond in adaptive manners to adverse events is crucial for the individual's social integration. Cognitive evaluation, appraisal, plays a key role in shaping the meaning that an interpersonal offense assumes. What is going on in the brain? What is the neurobiology of those feelings which we are faced with every day, each of us? All the negative feelings are often invoked to explain why people lash out after an insult. Retaliatory aggression include regions of the cingulate cortex, dorsal striatum, insula, lateral and medial aspects of the prefrontal cortex, and superior temporal gyri. After provocation, there is a greater activity in the nucleus accumbens, a brain region which is reliably associated with reward during the aggressive decisions. Functional connectivity between the nucleus accumbens and the regulatory region of the lateral prefrontal cortex is related to a lower retaliatory aggression. Those are the areas on the fMRI which are active during the revenge feelings and forgiveness feelings. The green has, of course, we need this cortical inhibition of our subcortical activity to suppress our negative feelings. In response to painful emotions, individuals may react with anger, hostility, and desire for revenge. As an alternative, they may decide to forgive the wrongdoer and relinquish anger. Granting forgiveness was associated with activation in a brain network involving the theory of mind, empathy, and the regulation of the affect through cognition, which comprised the precuneus, right inferior parietal region, and the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And also this orange are those brain areas which are active in the situation when we want to revenge, and the blue one are those who are active in the forgiveness situations. Also here we can see the activity. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is secured when individuals use cognitive strategies to regulate emotional responsiveness. According to appraisal theory, the way a person thinks about a certain experience or even shapes his emotional connections. The ability to reappraise negative events in positive terms, such as by reinterpreting the motivation of the offender in a benevolent manner, is a key step in the process to forgive a wrongdoer. Neural activation of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex during the forgiveness is consistent for this process. What is the post-traumatic experience of victim? And what about this process between recovery and the fixation for the trauma? In this world, there are victims and perpetrators. They deserve our witnessing, overcoming denial, our compassion, and intervention. Victims of trauma live with paralyzing anxiety, helplessness, intensive shame, and humiliation. Process of recovery is possible in the surrounding which recognize suffer. Feeling of the revenge is present in every of us. We wish to see other persons suffer, tendency to act with evil on evil deed, an answer for injustice and wish for justice and reparation based on destructive impulses. Revenge shouldn't always be an emotional pathology or moral deficit. It could have sensible relational function in reconsolidating communicative process with double benefits. It is information of broken relational needs and self-healing with a wish for reparation. We can see in victims that some of them are very often in some kind of the avoiding of the revenge feelings. In therapeutic process, it could mean that some kind of the survival strategy which protect person from unendurable pain. It could reinforce passive attitudes toward abuse, resignation in victim position, and giving up of protests, fight, or changing on better. Revenge means hope for justice in the world. The avoidance could support helplessness and despair. The feeling of forgiveness is also something what we can easily talk about until we are in the situation that we have something to forgive to someone. Forgiveness has one of the crucial role in human development and could be the one of the main processes in the restoration of the interpersonal relationship after the conflict. It does not include revenge or compensation and does not influence on creating a new vulnerabilities. It means responsibility. It is a process where negative thoughts, feelings, and behavior toward the perpetrator replaced with positive thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. The decision to forgive is uncertain need for human relationship. Decreasing of anger and preventive defense mechanism according to the successful grieving process allowed superego to diminish its requests. Forgiveness makes a restoration of acceptable and possible relationship with more love with ourselves and others. That restoration of narcissistic equilibrium with reordering of inner relations give to forgiveness psychodynamic importance and potential for personal development. What about those two feelings in the war conditions? Consequences of the war are affected society and most of its population. There is left inner restlessness which needs some time for working through. 20th century was marked with two wars, two world wars in 20th century. At the end of the 20th century, Europe once more passed through the war experience, which was represented in Yugoslavia fall down. During the 1992 to 1995 war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, more than 100 people died or went missed. Here are some terrible pictures of Bosnia and Herzegovina war, which I think most of us could see in the television. One of the specificities of the Bosnia and Herzegovina war is Srebrenica genocide. The town Srebrenica was a small town in northeast Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was United Nations safe haven. It was held under the siege by Serbian military forces for more than 3 years. After the fall of the town, 8,372 captured boys and men were systematically killed, and more than 20,000 women, children, and then elderly were forced to leave their homes. In 2008, the International Court of Justice declared the massacre as a genocide. The bodies of victims are still being exhumated from the mass gravities. This is also one picture from the refugee camp in Tuzla in Dubrave, after those women and children came to so-called free territory of Tuzla after the Srebrenica fall down. And I was really astonished when I saw this picture. We automatically, when we look to a baby face, we have a smile on our face. Here you can see those women and even those children. They have a frozen face expression. They don't have any emotion. No, there is no smile. They look at the baby, but in fact, they don't see that baby. They look through that. They can only see the horror which they were passing through a few days before. So even this baby, who is maybe about 6 or 7 months old, her facial expression is mirroring her mother's face, which is still frozen. This was also a motivation for us to start to research what are the consequences of those war traumas which children pass through, especially after some years pass after the war. So there is one research which we have done in our clinic. It is consequences of war traumatic experience, like genocide in Srebrenica, survived in early childhood on adolescent personality shaping. Objectives of our work was to show if such a war traumatic experience survived in early childhood, in the age from 1 to 5, influence on some personality characteristic in adolescents. As a method, we took 100 healthy adolescents. In that time, they were in age of 15 to 16, but they were born just before the war, in 1999, 1991, and we divide them in 2 equal groups. One observed group was Srebrenica group, who were living in that town during the war, and the other was control group. They lived in the free territory in Bosnia, in Tuzla area, and didn't have serious injuries or personal losses during the war. As psychometric test, we used war trauma questionnaire, post-traumatic stress reaction questionnaire, self-reported depressive scale, ZUNC, and Freiberg personality inventory. We have got the results, of course, that there is a significantly higher number, mean number of the war traumatic events, which Srebrenica group they have, that is 14.26, comparing control group 4.86. There is written some of those traumatic experiences, war traumatic experiences. As we could see, this observed group, 100% of them were forced to flee because of the war. 90% of them have experienced shelling nearby themselves. They thought that they would be killed during the war. They have close family members in the war, and family members were wounded in the war, so majority of this sample have had a very severe traumatic experience. In this control group, we can see that 84% of them have had a close family member. Mostly their fathers were the soldiers during the war time, so there is no significant difference according to that item. there are also some other traumatic experiences. And also, we can see here some of the post-traumatic stress reaction, which are the highest for both group. There is a significant difference in the item. In reminding of traumatic event, I feel very uncomfortable, and this more traumatized group has significantly higher that item, and also trying not to be surprised with some dangers. It is mostly re-experience and avoiding symptoms are in highest level of post-traumatic stress reaction, but the total score of post-traumatic stress reaction is not in pathological level. There is the results from our personality profile with Freiburg Personality Inventory. We didn't get some difference except in sociability. This Srebrenica group, which is more traumatized, have a significantly higher level of sociability. So maybe it could be one of the protective factors for those group members. And here is written that more than 1/3 of the adolescents in both groups reported high level of psychosomatic complaints, spontaneous aggression, and reactive aggression. There was no significant correlation between the number of traumatic experiences from the early childhood and personality profile characteristics. We also use these defense mechanisms scale, and we measured denial, suppression, regression, compensation, projection, transferring, intellectualization, reactive formation, and level of yes answers. And we didn't get any significant difference between those two groups. But the most dominant defense mechanism, in fact, for the both groups, were projection, intellectualization, and reactive formation, as well as denial. Because both groups were in some way traumatized with the war, so we took this one investigation from US study, show that the repression, denial, and reactive formation are dominant defense mechanisms in adolescents. But in that research, it wasn't showed the increase of intellectualization and decrease in projection. Depression and level of traumatization are statistically positively significantly correlated in this research.
Just last couple of minutes still.
Okay, thank you. And we took from this Freiburg Personality Inventory, we took those items who were talking about revenge and forgiveness. And there is sometimes a dream about that there should happen something bad to those who have made me injustice. That was statistically negatively correlated with the level of traumatization. Sometimes it calms me down when I think that something evil will happen to evil ones. Item is significantly correlated with traumatic experience during the war. There were some situations when I thought to be killed, and I believe that when evil, we should turn back with good, and I am behaving according to it. Is statistically negatively correlated with level of traumatization. In conclusion, in our findings, high traumatized Srebrenica adolescents reported significantly more severe of some PTSD symptoms, but it did not reach the level for disorder. Adolescents with higher level of traumatization have decreased capability for forgiveness, but did not increase the wish for the revenge. Experience direct threat of being killed in war increase adolescents' wish for universal justice. Okay. It's also those quotes for the holy books about the revenge and forgiveness, and of course some pictures from Srebrenica funeral, which we have every year. And thank you for your attention.